I think it's up.
Oh, yep, look there. Copy link. We are. Oh, look at there. Notifications. We are being notified at this moment. Live now. Let a few people jump on and then we'll get going. Shouldn't be long. We need like some Jeopardy music or something to play while we're here live before studio audience. One of these is. I have a button for that.
Everyone waits. I'll see if I can find some fine tunes.
So we still have that little staticky noise in the background that I noticed. Is that the fan on that box?
It's got to be the fan.
That's what it sounds like.
I wonder if we can. There's actually a setting to turn that off. Just bear with us, folks. We'll get this show on the road shortly. I need to pull up the. Hold up.
It's already off.
Is it? Then I wonder where that's coming from.
I don't have a blanket or anything to throw over it, so.
We have stuff and things. No?
Nope.
Alright, let's move this up. Let's move this up.
This is for Dave mostly.
Yeah.
That's close to your name, Lee. David Lee Roth.
Now, I don't. Let me switch accounts. One day we'll be good at this. Today is just not that day. We've got to figure out this little noise thing too.
It's one of our computers, I think.
I mean, none of our computers have fans, so.
Yeah, they do.
Mine doesn't.
Were you able to get it blasted out?
I was. It is blasted out. I am trying to figure out where in the world I look at the trying to find where I look at the old this live stream. This may be where. See if we've got some one watching. That's probably me.
So, Lee, while we hurry up and wait, do you have any grand plans for the coming week?
Not really. Just doing stuff around the house, getting ready for summer, I guess, 'cause that's not too far in the distant future, and
It's already here.
yeah, pretty much for Texas, it's already here.
It's already here. No one wants to admit it. It's March 2nd. It's here.
Yeah.
3rd. It's here. God, I hate this state.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Well, let's go through an intro right quick, and that way we have that under wraps, and then let's
Sure.
kick it off.
Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning. This Matt.
This is Jesse.
And before we get kicked off to our special guest, if you ever feel like reaching out to us, go ahead and find us at It Tastes Like Burning Cast at gmail.com. You can search for us on YouTube at It Tastes Like Burning. Look for the podcast there so you miss out on, even though I highly recommend The Simpsons, if you just do It Tastes Like Burning, you're just going to find Ralph. And if you're ever feeling inclined, you can jump online and watch our YouTube. This particular case, it'll be online, and we'll still have the audio versions coming down the pike. And then we have our guest today. And without any further ado, I'm going to have Lee jump in there real quick and say hello.
Hello, my name is Lee.
Fantastic. And just so everyone knows that Jesse's not over there miming, there's a fantastic picture and video of our guest. And Lee, go ahead and tell us just a little bit about how you kind of stumbled into our organization, but then ultimately where you're at now.
So I just happened to randomly come across, I was looking for a way to get back to my community. I had just moved back from Hawaii, was looking to get something involved and sent a message, sent some feelers out to see what it would take for me to join the department. I was contacted by someone and started the process, went through my application, sit down interview, got voted on within a week. And ever since then, I just been trying to prove my worth, show that I appreciate being able to come on the department to grow, not just the department, but me as well, and take all the knowledge that I've obtained and be able to pass that on to the newer guys that come on.
Okay. Now, while I've switched camera views, I'm going to have you move your mic a little closer and just make sure you speak into it.
Okay.
That way we make sure the volume and everything's coming through just fine. Department, where were you before? What state? And how big of a department was it?
I was in Louisiana, and it was a real small town rural department. It's almost one of those that if you think of the good old country volunteer fire department, that was it.
Okay. Now, you have some interesting hobbies, and those I don't necessarily see meshing just folk.
Yeah.
So how did they take to you, and just in general, how'd that go?
It really left a negative effect on me. I did probation out there for almost a year. The whole time, nobody really wanted to talk to me, even though I would try to engage. It was very pushed back just because I didn't really fit into the exact people they were wanting on the department, but I was just someone to fill a spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesse?
Yeah. Well, have you had that here?
No, not once.
Not once. So what's the difference?
I think a lot of it just has to do with the times, just people being more accepting of not basing somebody on looks, more on their work ethic, their attitude, what they have to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And you may or may not know this, but there was all kinds of chuckles and giggles the night that you showed up, and everybody's just like, what's going on with that? And so you play music,
Mm-hmm.
played music a long time, have a few tattoos, one or two, or 20 or 70 or
I lost count
way long time ago, and with that you keep a pretty awesome hairstyle, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I've had a mohawk for years.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and give the preview our ones of dozens of listeners just a snippet of what they're missing out on and the true potential of their haircut.
My hair is all wild right now. It won't even stand up unless I do something to it. But right now, it's pretty atrocious.
I mean, while you still have the hair.
Here, I'll give you the dignity. We'll take it back off you.
Yeah. While you still have the hair, you ought to do something with it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because like I'd take my hat off but impress you with my skullet that I'm working on.
Yeah, the friar tuck.
Yeah. Give me like 5 years, I'm there.
Yeah.
Till then, no. I'll keep up what I got, but no, the battle's lost. Dave, Lee, here's a question. What volunteer departments have a tendency to be cliquish?
Yeah.
What do you recommend for someone that is, I don't want to use the word battling, but they're just trying to find their acceptance? What do you recommend?
I mean, a lot of it, to me, is prove your worth. Prove that you deserve to be around. And sometimes that might sound demoralizing, but, you have to start from the bottom sometimes.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
we've determined that the only job that starts at the top is the ditch digger, right?
Right.
Everything else is from the bottom.
So, in your, it's the kicker is that it doesn't matter, and I can tell you that, like when I first joined our organization, it was very old, and they were very set in their ways, and my personality and disposition is I don't care. And I just went off on my own path. And within 6 months, I was fine. What, other than being arguably exceedingly one of the most reliable people on the face of the earth, a good work ethic, never complains, how do you deal with that being brand new? How do you segue into that being brand new on the department and highlighting that?
To me, it's just a lot about attitude. You can either go into something with a really positive attitude or really negative, and that's going to really affect everything else around you.
Okay. Now, how long have you been with us?
Coming up on 2 years.
Okay. I think this is a fair question. I always like to put people on the spot with it, and that's what it feels like, but it's not. What are we as an organization doing right, and what are we as an organization doing wrong?
I mean, right, to me, the training, the full experience that you get, not just with the training, is the guys on the department. Everybody, to me, clicks really well. They get along. They're hanging outside of the station as well in station, like a camaraderie, a family.
Right.
So that, to me, that's always a very big positive thing wherever you're at. As far as negative, there's really nothing that comes to mind.
Liar.
I
Liar.
mean,
They don't hand me $1,000 bills every time I walk in the door.
yeah. Well, I mean, that would be one. Yeah. So I don't have to worry about that.
It's one of those things where, and I always try and tell people this, that like, it's not personal to me. If there's a problem with the organization or with me or with one of the officers, just tell me. Sometimes we can actually address it, and there's other times where we can't. Kind of a cheesy example, but let's pretend that someone came to me and said, I don't like his haircut. I would immediately tell them to go pound sand. I think one of the biggest things and advantages that an organization has, particularly being volunteer, is the ability to actually give people flexibility in joining the organization.
Yep.
We are not the U.S. Marine Corps.
No.
It is perfectly fine that not everyone is built and looks the exact same. Because what we do is not beach landings.
Right.
It's okay to have different people with different mindsets and different. I'm highlighting the fact that David Lee Roth has lots of tattoos, and so does Lee. And the fact of the matter is that we shouldn't get lost in the most petty, stupid crap imaginable.
No.
Because I can tell you that you are beyond an asset to our organization, and it's a travesty that we got lucky enough to get you, and other organizations were luckily enough, stupid enough to run you away.
Yeah.
And I do mean that.
And I mean, in that 2 years, you know, you've gotten training, you've done this, you've gotten some accolades, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got Rookie of the Year, correct?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Finished almost all your training. I know you did firefighter 1 and 2.
Yeah, and my hazmat.
Hazmat's done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he's state certified.
Done all his training, got Rookie of the Year, and that hard work pays off, right?
Yes.
It paid off in the form of promotion, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, once you go into a little bit about what your role is now.
Well, my role is now I'm a lieutenant of the operations, so I'm helping with our apparatuses, make sure that everything is up to date, working, current, it stays in service. If not, it's addressed to make sure that it is in service at all times, ready to go.
What else?
I'm also tackling our gear issue, which
I can tell you is the trail of 10,000 tears on our organization.
Yeah, for PPE.
Yeah, PPE is a disaster for us and always has been and always will be.
Pretty hard to manage.
Yeah.
it was a little rough out of the gate, but I'm getting a good grasp on it and making progress like I wanted to. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
How many sets of gear do you plan on ordering this year? Ideally, if everything perfectly lines up.
This year I would like to at least order 7-8 sets of gear of 10 a set.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How many times?
Indefinite.
Yeah.
Just
PPE is it's just this never-ending Mariana's Trench of awesomeness.
Well, and it's compounded on the ever-growing roster, and
Right.
there is some turnover rate, even though we're pretty good at that. But not everybody that comes through the door is the exact same dimensions. So there's some of that. There's a lot to it. It's not just as simple as, well, you got gear 9.5 years ago, you're up. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's here's the other part of it. Our structural firefighting gear is not the least of it. What else do you have with the PPE?
You got helmets, you got boots. You also got tools.
Yeah, because technically, you're not just the PPE officer, you're operations. So what else do you get to tackle with that?
I help and tackle our hose inspections, our pumper inspections, the testing for those, as well as the ladders, any equipment that's on the truck,
All of the above.
all the above, maintenance on everything.
And
Yeah, there's just a lot going on with it. I think one big difference that we tried this year was we don't have a lot of new officers just for the benefit of creating officers. But what we have is we have officers dedicated to positions. And the people that are dedicated in those positions, there's a reason they're dedicated to it. I will tell you, some of it is also, trial by fire. It is to intentionally put people in a difficult position just to see how they'll handle it. A little bit of it is also, for lack of better words, career development. Relying back on something that Jesse says and overemphasizes, and he's 100% correct on, is our sole job is to train our replacements. And, well, truthfully, we can't really train our replacements if we're not putting you in positions to try and learn a lot more about the department. We need to have more and more people in operations. We need to have more and more people in training. We need to have more people as captains and lieutenants. Because truthfully, your head is so far underwater if you try and advance without a background in operations in this organization. Operations is huge for us.
Yes, it is.
And very, very truthfully, if you haven't done ops in our organization, I would argue you're not ready for chief, because there's too much in that position for that jump, that segue. Apparatus, 71 members. You have maintenance you have maintenance, inspections, testing, an ISO 3. We're about to challenge to a 2. I mean, operations is gigantic in that.
Yes.
And it's arguably one of the more difficult positions for us to put people into because they don't know crap about it.
Well, and the learning curve on it's so big, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot to risk with it. And historically, we've had that Rock of Gibraltar captain that's been in there kind of shouldering all of it. And,
right.
And
he's done great with it. The only thing that I'll criticize him on is that he won't share the knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say this. I think on our organization, including myself, there's really only 2, maybe 3 other people that have a remote clue. It the full scope, and it's not like you, Lee, would struggle trying to tackle it, but Jesse, just experience. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He's got the time in the industry to know that, oh, by the way, there's also this entire dumpster full of crap that you have to do every month. So without that background,
well,
you just struggle.
And one of the things that's kind of plagued us up until this point, and we're hoping to kind of start correcting in the next year or so, is there's no written manual for any of this. There's not a reference of what needs to be done when, and it's all trapped in somebody's head. And so since it's trapped in their head, I mean, we have chainsaws. We can get it out of there, right? But we need it somewhere else to where it's accessible and people can get to that information and know that, every year we do this at this time and we do this at this time. And all this stuff kind of plays it's the wheels in the cog that keep the thing moving forward.
Yeah, it's just, here's the other part of it, and I would argue pretty heavily on this. I don't know how good of a leader or manager you are if you're taking all of that information and you're just shelving it, and no one knows, but it magically happens.
Right.
I mean,
Auto-magically.
yeah, it's awesome that you're doing that, but You know you're not infallible. You can have a traumatic accident and magically die. And
Or
now what?
or get mad and leave, or
Right,
yeah,
get sideways.
get sideways. Because
Yeah.
you know, if you're over there kind of harboring all that stuff and you're working your tail off, and honestly no one can appreciate what you're doing because they don't know what's happening. You kind of set yourself up for a failure at that point of burnout, for one, and just the fact that you're not going to have anybody to replace you when you get tired of doing that.
It's just a really cheap power move.
It will.
That's really, at the end of the day, what it is. You're increasing value to yourself at the sacrifice of the organization in trying to pretend that you're irreplaceable. And the fact of the matter is that no one's irreplaceable.
Well, no.
And to sit there and try and pull that stunt, I don't appreciate it. It's not cool. It's not awesome. And that doesn't mean that, 5 and 20 and 40-year chiefs are doing that. But I have seen that, and it's not smart to do that.
No.
It really is. It's a good way to get yourself highly resented.
Yeah. So moving forward down the road, what are some of your goals for in the department and what you want to do?
Especially whatever the department needs. I'm happy to contribute in whatever way, high, low. It doesn't matter. My biggest thing is just seeing the growth of the department, and as we were talking about before, being able to pass all the knowledge obtained by the higher ups, pass down to the newer guys, and just keep that ball rolling.
I'm going to ask you a terribly unfair question, and it's going to sound, you're going to hate me when I first ask this, but I'm going somewhere with it. Real simple question. Are you a follower or a leader?
I would say I'm more of a leader, but I know when I need to follow.
Okay. So here's the follow-up question to that.
Okay.
What direction would you like to see our organization go in the long run? Not necessarily today or tomorrow. Where would you like to see it go in the long run?
I mean, growth is really the biggest thing. That's where I want to see. I want to be able to see our departments go from 4, 6, 7, 10, 20, have the apparatuses for each one of those stations, have the personnel for each one of those stations, and having them all trained and all ready to go.
Now, if you have an answer to this question, it's worth billions.
Oh, shit.
How do you grow?
How do you grow? That one person at a time.
Okay, but how? How do you get that one? How do we get you?
Well,
Dumb luck.
Yeah.
that was kind of dumb luck, but a lot of it would be the recruiting.
Seriously though, how did you find out about us being volunteer, and what made you want to join?
Well, I knew that we were volunteer just from, I went to school here. The school's right down the road, so every time I would drive down, it says Granbury Volunteer on the sign.
Okay.
And I mean, it's just always been something that I've wanted to do. You know, my dad was a firefighter. Not here.
Oh, okay.
No, just growing up.
Okay. I was gonna say, I just about learned something completely new.
No, but it's just something that I've really enjoyed and always had a fascination with, and was a way for me to be able to give back to my community. So what better way than the fire department?
So here's something that's this is also a real challenging question. On the forums and levels that me and Jesse kind of talk at and communicate at, a universal theme is maintaining culture through a modern age and trying to advance and adhere and acknowledge your past and your history to the point that we're at today. So here's my loaded question to you. How do we continue to figure out how to get good people like you, and without it sounding terrible, that are different. They're abstract. They're not sheep. They're not followers. How do we get those people in a modern age to still want to do something that goes back to caveman days?
Well, I mean, it's like anything. You have to be able to show that you're different, that you've changed, not necessarily changed, but you're more open, flexibility. Like with the fire department, you look back in the 80s, everybody was clean cut hair, mustaches, straightforward, pretty much green collar guys. Now you have guys that pull sleeves, obviously guys with mohawks, piercings. Um, to me, seeing, I would say, classify, I guess, the oddity of someone like me as opposed to the regular looking firefighter. It shows other people that see me on scene or out and about wearing fire department stuff that, hey, I don't have to be a clean cut, no tattooed average Joe.
Right. You know, I always make this statement, and it is a joke, but I'm serious. Every single person on our organization is not standard.
No.
They're different. All of them are odd. Some of us hide our oddities a little bit better than others, or they're not as visible. But every single person on this organization's just a little
Throw it off.
tilted. And it's I think the messaging, even for us, I think it still needs to be tweaked, because we want different, particularly in this modern age. We want people to work. We want people to acknowledge the history, the tradition. We can teach people the doctrine. And what you're really looking for, to steal a line from a modern song, is that you're looking for an old soul in a modern age. They're out there, and they're not rare.
No.
It's just our ability to communicate that need and then find them. And then, more importantly, the fact of the matter is that they are a little touched, and they're a little different. And, get away from your special
Stigmas.
club and your stigma. And so to kind of bring this back into reality, I'll give you a perfect example. In the Metroplex, DFW area, there's a gigantic fire department there. And they just got rid of their policies on tattoos. Now, I can understand not necessarily wanting facial tattoos. I was talking to a volunteer fire department in Houston, big department. They actually embraced facial tattoos, and they talked about it. And it's like, whoa, wow, you guys put some actual thought into it. And what they're pulling off the streets are gang members. And it's like, holy smokes. The words that I actually want to use to describe this, I won't. That is brave, innovating, and actually like very sneaky clever. Because if you can get someone that is, in my proverbial quote of difference between commitment and involvement, it's like a ham and eggs breakfast. If you get someone that committed, ooh,
Well,
I wonder what sort of resource they are if you're able to actually get them to change their focus.
Well, and that's it. It's focus, right? So I kind of believe that most people are way more committed than they give themselves credit for.
Right.
And most people are capable of a lot more than what they give themselves credit for. I hear it all the
Period.
time. I hear it all the time, and people tell me, "Oh, I could never do what you do," and I'm like, well, "Sure you can. Sure you can. It's what I do is not that hard. Like it takes time, energy, and effort to get the training, but what we actually do is not. It's not that hard. planned. There's risk assessments. Like, we're not out here as cowboys. I mean, what we're doing is there's thought and science involved in it, right? We're not just flying from the seat of our pants doing this stuff. And for the general public to think that they can't do this because they're not mentally or physically tough enough, and that's the one I always hear is, I'm not mentally tough enough to do that. Well, sure you are. It takes time and conditioning, and it's knowledge. It's the knowledge that brings you to the point where you can do this. It's not that you show up on day one and you can just do all this stuff and have the...
Here. So, the greatest generation ever, World War II. I wonder what they'd have been called without World War II.
Yeah.
I don't know. The fact of the matter is that the circumstance forged the generation.
Right.
Don't forget the draft was there. They didn't get a choice. Okay? And I mean, there's no negative connotation there. My simple point is this, is that if you take a group of men and women to the age and you put them in the circumstance, you don't know what's going to come out the other side.
But
we can reference 9/11 for something a little more relatable.
And modern, yeah.
And modern, I mean, military recruitment was literally on the levels of World War II at that time.
Yeah.
So I think it's age, it's circumstance. The other thing that I'll counter, I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off there, is this is the first time that I can think of where we are, as a society, overemphasizing to a positive your exposure to negative impacts, and making sure that you go out there and figure out how to have, well, not to have, that's the wrong word there, but this is the first time in history and in our culture where we're saying, be aware of the scary things in the world because they might be able to physically affect you. And it's always been dog eat dog up until this point. And it's just one of those things where it's a new era, it's a new age. And because you can hear a camera having a problem in the background, I'm having a hard time having a line of thought. There it is. It managed to come back up. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, I think it's a combination of technology to a certain point, and a combination of just a new line of thought.
Well, and I honestly believe that most people are capable of way more than what they ever thought they could do. And the examples of that are just throughout history. They're so common, right? You know, you've got folks that saw their leg off because a tree fell on them in the forest with a toothpick or whatever the case may be. You know, they got
a bungee cord.
Yeah, it just the amount of what the human can do their leg off.
No, it's to make it cold and terrible. Always tell our guys, where in the event that you ever traumatically get hurt on scene or something much worse, it's not a structure fire. One of the safest things we do is run into a burning building.
Yeah.
You have the tools, you have the equipment, you have the gear, you have the education, you have the training, you have the qualified personnel around you. It's contained in a specific area. The most dangerous thing we do, and the most likely spot of where we're going to get killed, is going to be a traffic accident, because there's too many variables. It's not contained,
and it's rarely going to be our fault, right?
Right.
We didn't. Yeah, it's going to be that rogue person that's on their phone or whatever the case may be, or too drunk to drive or whatever, that
Right.
takes one of us out, and hopefully not 5 or 6 of us.
Right. Unfortunately, that's just the way you have to approach it, because that's just the society that we live in.
Yeah.
Distracted drivers.
Self-absorbed.
Right.
Yeah.
So to kind of bring it back on point, after you've heard us ramble on and screw with cameras there, Lee, what do you think of what we're saying? What do you have to add to that?
I mean, not really a whole lot. I agree with pretty much everything that y'all are talking about. Like you said, it's just the biggest thing is I guess the modernized recruitment. You can't just do the same thing you could 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Sure. Now that I won't disagree with at all. And I think nationwide, I think that's what kind of bit volunteer departments traditionally in the butt is, it's always been a family affair, and it doesn't have to be. There's no reason that you couldn't include other people in your community in it. I don't know. I can tell you, because there's conversations that we're having locally, regionally, district, state, nationally. What we're talking about is not a localized thing. I mean, the thing that makes us unique is that we're so open to
Talking of that, it's huge that we even talk about this stuff, right?
right.
Yeah, most departments are just kicking a rock in the parking lot going, shucks, if we could find some people. And I'm seeing the tide turn on all this. You're seeing recruitment being up in even small departments, and you're seeing a growth in all these departments. And I think the number one thing is we've all been told for the last nearly 20 years that, volunteerism's going away. There's not going to be any more volunteers. It's drying up. It's going away. And it's not.
Right.
We're much larger than we were in 1980, 1990, 2000, even 4 years ago. Our department is as large as it's ever been in the history, in the 116-year history of the department. It is bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Is it as big as it should be? Maybe, maybe not. We're not stopping the recruiting bus.
I don't know what the answer is to that.
Yeah.
I just know we need more.
Yeah. And when we get to the point where we'll know when it's too many, right?
Right.
Yeah, we'll know at that point, like, yeah, no, we need to, this is getting a little bit out of hand. We need to slow down, right? But we haven't hit that spot yet. So if we haven't hit it, then we need to keep going forward.
Yeah.
And don't have an arbitrary, we don't have an arbitrary number of where that end is, right?
No.
It's literally the department's going to tell us when it's enough.
So this conversation very roughly came up in a conversation that I had with a local politician. And the question is how big do you want to get? I said, I can't tell you the answer. So what's your actual question? How high do you want to go? Okay, fine. I'll make up a number. 150. When we get to 150, we're good. Till then, and we're halfway there. Little over. Okay? We're halfway there. Till then, we need to keep pushing. Here's the correct answer. Anytime that you no longer have unanswered calls and enough people on scene, that's when you know you did it.
Well, and I think it goes beyond the enough people on scene to the point of you have too many people on scene, or you have too many people standing by at the station, or you have people that haven't seen the inside of an apparatus in months because they've they've missed the call because there's too many people there, right?
Right. Well, so here's what I'm working towards. And you got to understand, to our ones of tens of listeners, here's what you have to understand. I'm trying to build a volunteer department that covers shifts 365 days a year with no compensation. No salary, no reimbursement,
No stipend.
no stipend, no subsidy, no compensation. None. Now, here's the irony in this. I'll tell you out of the gate. I believe volunteers should be compensated. But my version of compensation is completely different than how I started that conversation, because you immediately went to how much are they going to pay per shift or per call? And I'm telling you, zero. I question and have a theory that you can build a volunteer organization that covers shift-based coverage just strictly off the fact that they can be volunteer, and they want to be volunteer, and they want to help their community with no money to their pocket. That's what I'm trying to build. Now, I might be the world's biggest idiot. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Okay. But all I'll say is that for me and Jesse to be able to accomplish this is only achievable by not thinking inside the box.
Yeah.
You have to think out of the box. And who the hell am I to challenge someone on their right to volunteer? I was writing an article a few days ago, and I said in the article, I had a line where I don't care what you look like, I don't care where you came from, and I don't care what your politics smell like. I don't care. I could care less. My question is how much do you want to help the community?
Yeah. How much do you want to work?
Yeah.
How much do you want to show up? How active do you want to be? How much of an asset do you want to be?
Right.
Right.
I mean, I am asking for the perpetual volunteer to fall on the sword every time. Some people, happens to be three of them in this room at the same time, that do that. There's others.
Oh, yeah.
There's others. And
Yeah.
we have to be able to recognize that. And if we don't, well, we're going to fade off into oblivion like everyone else. Jesse, do you have anything else you'd like to add for today?
No, I'm actually pretty good on that. I think that was a good deal. We're right there in the time frame we need to be in.
Okay. I'm going to kick
Shoot
it
back
over.
over to Lee.
Yep,
and
I'm
let
going to
him-
shoot it over to Lee. And Lee, again, you're non-standard, such an insult, but you're not the typical volunteer firefighter in Texas, particularly small town Texas. What is your message to those departments that are missing out on guys like you left and right?
I mean, the biggest thing is just willing to take that chance. Sometimes people can amaze you with what they can do when given the opportunity. Sometimes they go above and beyond just to show that that's where they want to be. So don't hesitate on picking up somebody from the side that, has a huge mohawk or face tattoos or big hole in their nose, whatever the case may be.
Just real quick while I'm thinking about it, how many medicals have you covered and little old ladies be completely enthralled with you?
They don't care.
Yeah.
They really don't.
Yeah.
As long as I'm there to help, they're happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oddly enough, when you're not in good shape, you don't really care what that individual looks like.
What
Oddly-
color their hair is.
Yeah. Oddly enough, they don't even notice it. I don't know why, something weird. Maybe it's the ridiculous amounts of pain and suffering that they're in, or the loss that they're experiencing, that they manage to look past these physical barriers that seem to affect so many other people at times on the application process.
Yep. Well,
All right. Well, I think that's all we got.
that's a wrap.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. Lee, you good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, before we wrap up real quick, if you ever have any questions, concerns, comments, theories, interjections, prejudices, or concerns, litigation goes to Jesse. You can reach out to us at ittastelikeBurningcast@gmail.com. You can find us at ITLBcast at Twitter. I think I completely screwed that up.
Nope, you got it.
Okay. And that's where we'll be posting our live streams. And for anyone that ever has any ideas, arguments, theories, conjectures, interjections, we'd love to hear from you.
Yep. And-
Have you as a guest and tell us how stupid we are.
Yeah. And we're looking to do more of these, and the only way to know is to subscribe and ring the bell, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's if you really truly want to help us, you can subscribe, click the reminder notification. We do have a Patreon, and it tastes like Burning Cast. But what we're really hunting is subscriptions, likes, clicks, reminders. With all of that said, this is Matt.
This is Jesse.
This is Lee.
Appreciate it. Have a good evening.